am I doing? Let me do this. Okay. Hi, my name is Alana. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And on this channel, we review books. The drama. Um, this week's book review is The Children's Bach by Helen Garner. This book was sent to me last year, and I read it last year by Penguin Random House. Helen Garner is an Australian author who is considered she's one of the great Australian authors. She's considered a classic for them, and this is her first time being published in the United States. And so Penguin Random House reached out to me last year and asked me if I wanted to be sent a copy with no obligation to actually review it, but I read it anyway. So Helen Garner is new to me, and that's another reason why I agreed to take it. One, I love a good familial drama. Why do I like familial drama? Familial drama is not fun in real life, but I'll read it in a fiction because it's real. It's real. It's real. I think that's one reason why familial dramas are so popular in fiction is because that's life, right? Burping. Okay. Let's dive in because I want to knock this out. I have one more review to record and it's lunchtime. So, one could behave like this only by numbing something in the skin of the body, as if to compensate, peeled back and laid bare the nerves. So, in the children's Bach, we have Dexter and Athena Fox, who live in Melbourne in the 1980s, and they have 2 sons. Their life is comfortable and predictable, but when an old friend of Dexter's that was a tongue twister. When an old friend of Dexter's named Vicky comes back in town, okay, they haven't seen each other for a hot minute, their routine changes a bit, as in Vicky is a bit of a disruption, and Athena in particular begins to question if there is more to life outside of their repetitive family structure, and specifically for her, if there's more to life than just this routine that she was stuck in. This is a very short novel. My edition is 160 pages. And in this short novel, could you even call it a novella? It is short, and I'll show you. The font in this edition is large, so with big margins. So this is a quick novel to get through. But in this little novel, Garner packs a lot in. So she highlights the fragility of the family structure and how the relationships that we think are unbreakable are not always shatterproof, or we think that something will never happen with these relationships, but in some cases things do change, or things may change for a season but then they come back together. Dexter stuck this picture up on the kitchen wall between the stove and the bathroom door. It is torn and stained and coated with the sheen of splattered cooking grease. It has been there a long time. It is always peeling off, shining sideways, dangling by one corner. But always, before it quite falls off the wall, someone saves it, someone sticks it back. So it's very, very evident. This quote is pulled from the first page and a half of my edition. So it's right at the beginning of the novel. How Garner is using this imagery of the photo and how it's been creased and greasy and it's fallen, but somebody puts it back maybe right before it completely falls. It's hanging on by a thread sometimes to symbolize the Fox family. So this book starts kind of in the aftermath of Vicky, I want to say. If my memory serves me right, I read this a few months ago. But it shows how, regardless of what happens in the narrative that's about to come after this imagery that Garner sets up, the Fox family comes back together. It doesn't break the family, this disturbance that does happen. So yes, they're about to go through some grit. You know that you're about to read some weird stuff, but the family still stands. Garner's showing how things may get shaky for a time, but then they'll settle back down again. They had never fought before. They looked ugly to each other, swollen with the desire to do harm. He was afraid of the way he imagined she lived, and she wanted, in some obscure sadism, to induct him into the rough sexual world that lies outside families. This is actually referring to Vicky, their old friends, and Vicky and Dexter, rather, how they have chosen 2 different paths in life. He's got the quiet family life. She's more of a free spirit. And even when they knew each other prior to Dexter getting married and having kids, they definitely had their own, they were very opposite in a lot of ways. And so so they're oil and water. And so it goes to show how even in those friendships that we have that we think are impenetrable, there are shakings that can sometimes happen. Not all the time, but sometimes. So from the title of the novel, you can expect that music is going to play a role in this narrative. I mean, the children's Bach, right? So she uses music in the playing of instruments, Garner does, to symbolize several points. I'm going to go over these points. So for one, it symbolizes those who follow directions, specifically Athena. So she's always, so in music terms, she's following the sheet music to the point that she's a mechanical player. She does actually play the piano, but recreationally. There's a piano in the house and she'll just kind of pick at it. But she doesn't have any musicality. But she doesn't deviate from the sheet music. She plays exactly what's up there. She is the type of person, her personality type, that's going to play exactly what's written. She's not going to embellish it. She's not going to add any emotion to it. She's definitely not playing jazz. She is not improvising anything. She's not going with the flow. She's doing what she's told. And even though she's playing classical music, she's not adding any excitement to it. Classical music can be very exciting. As a person who's played classical music herself when I was a clarinetist back in the day, I'm not even that old. But when I was a musician myself, there is a point where you move beyond being an elementary student and you start to become musical. You now know the basics and now you know how to play with the music. So I could play Mozart and add my own tone to it, my own characteristics to it, even though I'm not necessarily deviating from the sheet music. You're adding in the vibrato. You're getting better at crescendos and decrescendos and when to add certain types of feeling or amounts of or certain feeling in the music, again, to make it musical. There's a musicality to it. Athena does not have that, even though she's playing classical music. Her playing, even when correct, was like someone reciting a lesson in an obedient voice, without inflection or emotion, without understanding, a portrayal of music. Garner also uses music in this novel to show harmony and discord that is occurring amongst these characters. Vicky charged down the front to dance beside girls she did not know, but who met her eye and smiled at her as they leap and bob and twirl about in their cheap and cheerful dresses in the brief camaraderie of moving to music. So these are random characters in this book, in this particular scene that Vicky's interacting with, but just on this dance floor. But it does show, again, how music has the ability to bring people together on one accord, on one beat, to stay on the beat. But then 3 students, each in a separate room, were practicing a piano, a violin, a clarinet. The threads of melody, never meant to combine, mingled and made a pleasant, meaningless discord. So even though, for example, musicians can clash, they're not on tune, right? That's a metaphor for personalities can clash. There can sometimes be, even if you have a person that you get along with, there are times of you're not in tune together. You're not on the same chord. You're not in the same key. You're not even on the same time measure, right? But practice does make perfect. And Garner is showing how in relationships, that is how things can be restored. You have to work at it. You have to practice at it. You have to want to be persistent so that you can keep going. Don't just throw in the towel. You got to keep going. It's wrong. I'm playing it. It's riddled with mistakes, like a piece of cheese. It's never all right. There's always something wrong. That's it. Take your time. Don't get worried and upset. Take your time and work it out. Look at each individual trouble spot and analyze why it's giving you trouble. And that is actually how, musicians practice. I mean, you have a spot that's causing you issues. The notes are really fast. Maybe the rhythm's quick. You're trying to get accustomed to rhythms that you may not be used to. You just isolate those sections, those trouble spots, as Garner calls them, and you just hash them out over and over and over again until they become second nature. Dancing is the same way. Anything is really the same way, where you have to practice in order to get it right. You're going to fumble at first, but Garner is making this argument that that is what relationships are like. There are going to be times when you fumble, you're going to get discouraged, but in order to make it work, you have to be willing to practice. What stuck out to me also in this short novel is Garner's writing. Again, this is the first time I've read Garner, so she's new to me. Her writing is unique, and she has a way of saying things that just hit the nail over the head, while she writes it though in such a way that makes the reader pause. Like, I've heard this theme before. I've heard this idea expressed. I've just never heard it expressed in this way. She's not a flowery writer, but she does have a way of articulating things directly that's still well constructed and just makes you go, that was good. That was really good imagery. They gossiped and reported to each other the day's residue. I mean, how good is that? That is one short little sentence. But she instead of saying Dexter and Athena told each other about their day, they gossiped and reported to each other the day's residue. Garner didn't have to do that, but she did, and I appreciate it. The soup was thick. The bread was fresh. The stove's dry heat reddened their cheeks. The walls curved in around them. Outside the house, which was at the bottom of a neglected street, no cars passed. Again, that's not flowery. It's not Dickens. But it's just perfectly setting the scene of Athena and Dexter in the house, cozy and warm, before Vicky comes. And just perfectly drawn imagery, and that happens throughout this short novel. So I am glad I decided to take this book. I have Monkey Grip that Penguin also gave to me or sent my way, that was released in February of this year, and I do plan to read that this year. I'm really looking forward to reading that. I think I'm a budding Garner fan. There's something about her writing that's just a joy to read. Okay, it's an absolute joy. And any Helen Garner fans out there, holla. What else? Have you read more books from her other than the two that I have? And if so, your personal favorite. Your girl needs to know. So with that, please feel to like, subscribe, leave me a comment, and also feel free to follow me on Instagram, where I get up to more book shenanigans. I post all of my book content there first. And I also post goofy things in the Instagram stories. Some of it is just flat out stupid. Like, I have a whole, how you can save posts on Instagram? I have all these reels and post saves that are dumb. They're dumb. They're goofy. They're stupid. They're corny. Some of them are actually really funny. Or it's just things, or sometimes it's like, oh, look at that horse. Look at that bear. I have a thing for bears. Okay, they're deadly. But they are cute. Especially bear cubs. Oh my gosh. I want one. Okay. Or just things that are personal interests of mine, like, this past week, I went on a Mustang kick, Ford Mustang, okay? I love Ford Mustangs. My favorite car on the planet is a Ford Mustang. So I have all these Mustang reels saved I'm going to pull them out when I feel like it, okay? So anyway, with that, I'm going to sign out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Something wrong with me. Jesus. Take my wheel. Never would have made it.